everybody, and welcome to ConTinual, the con that never ends on Facebook and YouTube and all over the web. Today, we're interviewing the absolutely fabulous Beverly Jenkins. Welcome, Beverly.
Thank you. How are you? Thanks for having me and all that other good stuff.
We're so glad to have you with us on ConTinual. I am so thrilled to talk about all of your books and your career and everything you've meant to the romance industry and all of that. I sort of came up on your books, which I absolutely love. One of the things I wanted to start with is that one of your very first books, Vivid, had its 25th anniversary.
Yeah, last year. So it was interesting because the readers collect them.
Yes.
They have them in the old book club hardcovers. They have them in print. They have them on audio, and they have the digital copies.
That's most excellent.
So someone asked back in the fall, we were talking because we celebrated all year, and one of the readers asked me, she said, well, Miss Bev, can we have like a hardcover of Vivid? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I got in touch with Iris Bowling, who's a fabulous writer, and she has fabulous covers. So I asked her who does her covers. And so she gave me the email of the young woman who does the covers. And oh my God, I got this in exchange. And it is, and all I told her, the only thing I really wanted was the cameo.
Right.
So I said, okay, I want the cameo, and then you do your thing. And
fabulous job.
She did a fabulous job. So Indigo, which is my third book,
right,
came out in '96, will be 25 years old this year. So
are you going to do another hardcover edition?
We're going to do another hardcover edition of that. I own the rights for those. Can't do the Avon things, but so she's going to be presenting me and my agent with her initial drawing, or however she makes this magic, the middle of next month.
That's
so I'm going to see what it looks like. I'm looking forward to that.
Now, you also have a new one as of February 9th, I think you said, from Avon called Wild Rain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So from the start to the latest.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Wild Rain.
Wild Rain is the lady is, her name is Spring Rain Lee. She's named after her Shoshone grandmother. And she's a rancher in Wyoming, and she breaks horses, and all barbed wire and hard edges, and no, I don't lead love. I don't want to have children. I am just, I got my land and my horses. I'm good.
I'm happy where I am. Yeah.
Happy where I am, and don't bother me. So she runs across a guy who is, he's a reporter. He has come west from DC to interview Spring's brother, who was the hero in the book before this one.
Right.
Tim Best. And he's thrown from his horse, and she finds him walking in a snowstorm. So, she really wants to leave him on the side of the road because that's who she is. But, she sort of takes him in, and our story goes from there. So
I am so excited. That's my, that's one of the reads. That's my reward for finishing my pages.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's a good reward.
It's a very good reward. I'm really looking forward to it.
He's my first cinnamon roll hero. So yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So what do you mean by that?
Cinnamon rolls, it's sort of I don't know if it's a new romance term. It's sort of for betas. Regularly romance heroes are, you got that arrogance, you got that swagger, you got, the type A sort of.
Right.
But he's just very, very comfortable in his own skin, not trying to change her. Every time we see him, he has a book in his hand.
Oh, I like him already.
Yeah, just a really, really nice guy. Not trying to change her in any way. He's not weak, but strong enough to realize within himself that, I like her the way she is.
Right.
And she really, really appreciates that. So he's my first cinnamon roll. I don't know if I'm gonna write how many I'm gonna write because I like that arrogance and that swagger too. So
Yeah.
um, we'll see. But yeah, cinnamon roll.
I like that. I love that term. So you sort of got your start with Night Song was your first one.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how that all happened for you, because you and I both started in the days where you put manuscripts in paper form in a binder and you mailed them off and
Lord
hoped and
Jesus.
prayed and
Yes.
and you know, you got your start before I did, but you know, that was in the days where you got the call
You got
and it
the
was a huge deal.
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that for you.
I had not planned on being published.
Really?
No, never. That was not a dream of mine. My only dream was, and I've said this before, was to work in a library. That was it. All I ever want to do is work in a library. So when I
And you have a library degree, right?
no, I have library experience
Right.
because when they offered me the job full time, I worked as a student,
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State University, um, and they offered me a full time job junior year. Nobody's going to class back then. So
Right. Wait, full-time work? I'm there.
I know. So it was finals week. So I took the job, and that was the head clerk for the graduate library. So I had a crew of probably 50 students working for me at my own office. And we were responsible for, reshelving the books and getting the books upstairs and putting up the shelving. I mean, we had a ball, had an absolute ball. So I took
There's
the,
nothing like the library. My
oh,
daddy was a head librarian, and I grew up in the library, and there's just nothing like a library.
I read, I was one of those kids where I think my daddy started taking me to the library when I was maybe 8 or 9. And by the time I got to high school, this is a neighborhood library, I read everything in that building,
Yeah.
every book in that building. But then I get it honest because my mom, well, both of them, but my mom especially, was a voracious reader. And we lost her last year. This time she
Oh,
passed
I'm
away on
sorry.
the 27th, thanks, of April last year. But she was reading up until, probably 90.
Wow. Good
And
for her.
when she started reading, because she was born and raised in Detroit, she would tell you, I am not from the South. I'm from Detroit. And the libraries were segregated when she was in high school and junior high school. They wouldn't let her take the books home. Unlike the people, there were a lot of libraries in the South where Black people could not even come in the building.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
um,
crazy.
it is crazy. But the Detroit system let you come in the library, but you couldn't take the books home. And they were not shelved in with the rest of the collection. They were behind the desk. You had to ask for them.
That's so weird.
It's just so silly. Segregation was stupid.
It really was.
This is how stupid it was. They had Ray Charles, a segregated school for the blind. I read his autobiography when I was younger. And that was and it stuck with me. I'm like, what? Anyway, back to my mom.
You think about some of that stuff now and you go,
Yeah,
it's just stupid.
it's so stupid. Florida, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, she couldn't take them home. So she would sit in the library on Saturday afternoons, hours and hours, and just, read those classics by Langston Hughes and Arna Bontemps and, all those great people back then. So when we started going to the library, I'm the oldest of 7. When we started going to the library, she didn't care what we read.
Yeah.
And, as long as it was age appropriate, because I'm sure she looked at our books while we were in school to see what we were really reading, because she was a stay-at-home mom for, forever. But I read everything in the library. So I'm working at a library, Park Davis Pharmaceuticals, I think I started in 85. My daughter was 5 years old. I got tired of her asking me 1,000 questions a day. She was born in 1980, and I'm like, okay, we need to get you in school.
Yeah.
You You're making your mama crazy. So what's that? What's that? What's that? She started talking at 6 months and she's still talking. So we put her in school and I went back to work. So I'd stayed home with her because my husband had a great job. And I was working in the Park Davis Pharmaceutical Library in Ann Arbor, Michigan, before they were bought by Warner Lambert, who was bought by Pfizer. So
yeah, musical pharmaceutical.
oh yeah, Big Pharma was something. It was a great place to work though. So I had a girlfriend who was a real librarian. I was working at the reference desk at the time. And this was just the beginning of searchers. You know, what Google does now.
Yes.
Libraries were paying people to do on behalf of the chemists and the guys and the ladies who were in the labs, you know. So
go find me 12 articles on.
Right, exactly. With these parameters, but not this parameter, well, you know, so.
Right.
So she had just gotten published and she had written a sweet romance, small publisher in Michigan. And so we're celebrating her. And I told her about this manuscript that I was working on for me, because back then, like I said, this is the early mid 80s. You could probably count the number of African-American, you know, romances on like 2 fingers.
I was going to say, you probably don't even have to like move to a second hand.
No, 2 fingers, courtesy of Vivian Stevens, who was the editor at Dell. She published Rosalind Wells and Sandra Kidd at Harlequin. So I was working on this story for me. I loved a great love story. So did my sisters. There's 5 girls, 2 boys. And, but there was nothing in the mainstream media, on TV or in movies that looked like me and my sisters and my aunts and, you know, my cousins. So I was writing a story about this Buffalo soldier and the school teacher for me, because I had my dream job. I was in a library. That's all I ever wanted.
Yeah. So
I brought the celebrating the girlfriend at work, and I told her about this little manuscript I was working on for me. And she said, well, bring it in, let me see it. So I did, and she said, you need to get this published. And like I said, this is like 87 or 88. I'm like, where? So I tell people that this is her fault.
Can we send her thank you cards?
Yeah. Her fault and my mother's fault, because when I was little, still in the crib, she would buy me cloth books.
Oh, I love those. Yeah. My kids love those.
Yeah, you know, they can't read them at that age. You know, you just chewing on them.
They chew on them.
Yeah. And she would say, eat those words, baby. Eat those words, baby. So between Laverne, my girlfriend at work, and eating the words with my mom, you know, made me eat when I was a baby. They're the reason I'm here. So I brought it in. And like I said, she wanted me to get it published. And I swear she harassed me every day. Did you find an agent? Did it, you know? So just to shut her up. You know, she didn't want to believe me when I said, I don't care about being published. I just want to work in a library. And to this day, I cannot tell you how I found Vivian Stevens. Vivian was my first agent. And I read romance and I read everything. I read science fiction, I read Westerns, you know, all of that. So I guess I saw her name in a Romantic Times, probably. And then the Catherine Fox magazine.
Right, I miss that. I miss Romantic Times.
Yeah. It's quite a force in the industry for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
So some kind of way, I don't know, like I said, maybe Romantic Times, Vivian had gotten out of publishing, and she had a small literary agency out of her house in New York. And so I sent her my little raggedy manuscript, and she called me at the desk less than a week later and said she wanted to represent me. So it took her, you know, I didn't care. You know, it took her probably maybe 2 years to sell it, because I got enough rejection letters to paper my house, your house, all my sister's houses, everybody that
Yep.
and all that. I mean, she didn't even show me, half of the ones that I received. But like I said, I didn't care. I guess had I been focusing on being published, that probably would have been very, very discouraging to get.
Right.
Because, as a first time author, you do get a lot of rejections. Most of us.
Most of us do. Yeah.
Yeah, most of us do. So the letters basically said, great writing, but great writing, but. And the but had to do with my subject matter. Because, mid 80s, well, this was the early 90s by then, the country's concept and New York's concept for sure of what a 19th century African-American story should encompass is slavery.
Oh, such a tired storyline too.
Oh,
like we don't want to focus on that. We want to focus on the cool stories.
We want to, we know our pain.
Exactly.
Mean, we live with that. We see it every day.
Yeah. Let's talk about the cool stuff.
Yeah, there's joy too.
Yeah.
So, so I had a story. They're looking at slavery.
Right.
So here I come with a story with a hunky Buffalo soldier, a very sassy, educated school teacher in an all-Black town of free Black people on the plains of Kansas.
Yeah.
And they were like,
what?
We don't have a box for that. What are we supposed to do with that?
Right.
So lots of rejections. So then June 3rd, 1993, which was my husband's birthday, late husband's birthday, I got the call from Ellen Edwards, Avon Books in New York. And the rest, as they say, is history.
As for those of you out there that don't know, is that traditional publishers, it was the moment of a writer's career when they got the call from an editor or from their agent saying the editor's going to call you.
Yeah.
That's when the champagne corks flew.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess it's still that way. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think they still get the call. I mean,
I think so too.
But
then for back then, that was the only option.
Yeah, that's true. There was no self-publishing. Well, there was vanity publishing.
Right, but there was no Amazon, there was no Barnes and Noble or Nook or any of that sort of thing. Not then.
No Kindles. There was a Barnes and Noble, but they didn't sell romance.
They didn't. They just sold books. They didn't buy books.
No, yeah.
So Night Song was your first one with Avon,
right?
But Avon has continued to this day.
Yeah.
To publish your books.
Yeah.
How many books have they published for you?
I think there's 41. I think Spring Rain might be 42. And then
That's so great.
It is. It's, I'm still amazed by it. That I'm still doing this 27 years later.
But we are all still completely loving it. So you started with Night Song, and then there was Vivid and Indigo, which we've all talked about. And those three were all inspired by real people, right?
Yeah, everything is inspired by, I like to put my stories where African-American people lived, worked, and loved. Mm-hmm. So you get a bib list in the backs of all of the books for those who have questions or those who want to delve deeper into the subject matter. And for the few people who are like, did Black people really do this? Here's the bib list. Go get the bib list and come back and we can talk. But I'm not going to talk to you before you go and read the book.
Right. Do your homework first.
Right, exactly. I get my homework all the time.
But that's actually one of the things I love the most, though, is that you put the bib list in the back. And if something does intrigue you, like the Buffalo Soldiers or, the female doctor or some of those other things, you have other resources. And for those of us who are also writers, a lot of times that sparks some great idea.
Yeah.
And, other people's research, you're like, ooh, can I crib off your research? That's great.
And I borrowed that from Susan Johnson.
Really?
Because girlfriend actually had footnotes on her pages. I wasn't going to do footnotes. I wasn't going to do footnotes. I'm going to be that deep.
No.
But if you look at her early stuff,
Hmm.
she's got footnotes and little numbers and all shots. So
Now, you started your first sort of series with Through the Storm, right? Was that your first one that was actually set up as a series?
it wasn't even set up as a series. It was set up as everything was a standalone
Right.
till Rhine, I think, until the Old West. Well, the Destiny series,
Right.
but the readers started looking at them as series
Right.
because the next book wasn't published for another, 4 or 5 years.
Right.
When's the Storm? I don't know.
For the Levesque, it's the Through the Storm, and then
Winds of the Storm.
Winds of the Storm, and then Captured.
Right, which is really the first book in the series.
Right. And those are 98, 2004, and 2009.
Right. So, so I tell people, when they want to start reading me, just start at the beginning and go pub wise, because if you're skipping around stuff trying to find the books that go together, all of my books are related to another book in some way, except for one. And that's the Beverly Jenkins trivia question. And I'm not going to tell you which one it is. So you'll just have to, shameless plug, you'll have to read all the books in order
you have to read all of them. That's right. So you have written in so many different genres. Yeah. You've written historical, you've written the Old West, you've written contemporary, you have a small town series with the Blessing series. Why don't you tell us about the Blessing series a little bit, because that's super popular and wonderful.
It really is. And it's, I guess it's a testament to a good story because everybody's reading it. Teens, high school students, church groups. I got an email from a retired Marine drill instructor who said,
now that's a coup right there.
Yeah, and he said, Miss Bev, I know this was early in the books, because we're on book 11 now. He said he knew that he was probably not what my publisher would consider part of my demographics, because he's an older white guy. And he said, but I love these books. I love these books. And then I have a book Twitter friend who's in Arkansas on the radio, wears a big white hat. And one of the books, I don't remember which one it was, but he sent me a tweet and he said, you shouldn't be making old guys cry, and he's another older white guy. He was turned on to the books by his wife. So, church groups and it's just, it's about found families, adoption, foster kids, redemption, second chances. Yeah. A lovely little, and it, like I said, all my books are connected. The setting for the Blessing series is the setting that I created with the very first book. So this is Henry Adams, which is in the first book. This is 100 years later. And small town, they put themselves on eBay to sell themselves so that they can pay their taxes. And our heroine comes in and rides in and saves the day. And Al Roker is looking at it. I didn't even know Al Roker had an entertainment company, but he has an entertainment company and he's looking at trying to script it for TV. So small,
which is really exciting.
Really exciting.
And I wish there was some way all of us could go, yes, do it.
I know. It seems to be pretty serious. We haven't heard, COVID's got everything sort of shut down right now, but we have that. And then Sony has optioned Forbidden,
which is awesome.
Yeah, which is awesome. And then we recently just had one of the novellas optioned because, they just started figuring out that Black people and brown people have Christmas on TV, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there are
Hallmark figured it out.
yeah, Hallmark figured it out, and then BET and OWN and all those people. So now, but there are no historicals. So we just option the historical. Well, and optioning and making are two different things.
Right.
But
Right.
we're keeping our fingers
Right.
crossed.
Absolutely. I mean, I think with the enormous success of Bridgerton,
Mhm.
and the enormous success of some of the other things that have been adapted, Game of Thrones, that sort of thing, finally,
Yeah.
production companies are looking to source back to source material as opposed to, oh, let's make another Sharknado.
Oh, yes, for the 15th, 100th time or
Exactly. And I think that, your work lends itself. You are such a visual writer,
that's
and
what
you
I keep hearing.
set such a gorgeous scene that as a reader, you can be in Blessings. You can be in this place.
Yeah.
You have such a way of setting a scene that I think that it's easier to adapt that sort of thing, I think,
Yeah.
than it is something that's more intellectual or,
Mhm.
more in someone's headspace, as opposed to these gorgeous scene sets that you do. So,
I see it in my head when I'm writing.
yeah.
I just try to keep up because I'm a pantser,
Are you?
I write by the seat of my pants. There's, very little outlining or forethought. I just wander around like Moses in the desert for the first, 2 or 3 weeks and look for the pillar of cloud to set me on my way. So,
That's right. Go this direction.
right, write this down, so.
So you've written a lot of your historicals are really, a lot of them set in the most are set in the United States and in the West.
Yeah.
What is it about the West that drew you so? I mean, you grew up in Michigan, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Michigan, grew up in Detroit. In Detroit, I'm outside of Detroit now. My grandfather, I have probably seen every John Wayne movie that's ever been made. My grandfather was a big John Wayne fan. My grandparents didn't live that far from us. So there were three of us born first. We're like a year and a half apart. I have 7 brothers and sisters, 6 brothers and sisters. There's 7 of us in 13 years. So we are stair steps. So the first 3 are girls. And so we would all hang out together because we're, year and a half.
Right.
So we would go to my grandparents and, hang out with them for the weekend. And my grandfather would be watching John Wayne on Friday nights. Now in Detroit, we had Channel 50, and Channel 50 would show all of the old great B movies like, It Came from Outer Space and The 50-Foot Woman and, and we wanted to see that.
Right.
But he was like, hey, this is my TV.
You're watching Stagecoach and
You're watching Stagecoach, you're watching, all of the
310 to Yuma.
right, all of that. So, and it was interesting because he had lived in Texas for a while. He was originally from Kentucky. And he would say the stories about a Black guy, what they would say colored back then. And we were like, yeah, right. And damned if he wasn't right, and looking through the history. So he called them shoot 'em ups.
Yeah. My dad called them that too.
I think their generation, he's born in 1900. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. And so I have a love for history. And then I met Art Burton, who's a historian, and his bailiwick is the Black West. He's got a great book called Black, Red, and Deadly, which I use for Topaz.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the Black and brown and Native lawmen and outlaws of Indian territory. And I met Art, and he is just a walking encyclopedia. And so he was very, very helpful when I wrote Topaz. So whenever I go, we're talking about the West, I always throw his name into the conversation so that people will go out and buy his books. He's an authority on Bass Reeves, who they think may be the model for the Lone Ranger.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I love a good Western, and I wrote one or two or three or four or five
Just
or
a few.
few, and I'm still not done. I want to get back to that. So we'll see what happens in the future.
Is there a genre area that you haven't written in that you'd like to adventure into?
Fantasy, because that's what I read.
Yay.
That's what I read. I have this dragon book I've been lying to my readers about for the last 20 years about. Oh yeah, I'm gonna write this dragon book. I mean, because we have no Black women riding dragons.
Actually, I think Nicole Kurtz has a dragon rider in her latest Slay, in her latest novella series.
Yeah, okay. I have for bonus content, I think there's 8 pages of the beginning of the saga.
Ooh, cool.
In the back of a novella from the Blessing series. The novella, the dragon story is called Transformation.
Uh-huh.
And the readers loved it. So, I don't know, maybe next lifetime, but I'm really trying to get it done this lifetime if I can find the time.
Yeah. Well, Avon keeps you very busy, and it was 2019 was the Women Who Dare.
Yeah.
And Rebel was the first one, and then this February's Wild Rain is the second one.
Yeah, and the third one is due to my editor in September, and I have no idea who the lady's going to be because I'm a pantser. So we shall see.
Now, I read somewhere that you said that if you wanted to start with something, start with Topaz.
Yeah. Sometimes I do that. I tell them to start with Night Song also, which is the first book.
Right.
But throw Topaz in there, especially for guys.
Uh-huh.
Because it's a Western and it's funny.
Uh-huh.
It is laugh out loud, fall off the bed, kind of laughing.
Yeah.
I had a reader sent me a letter back when, before email. And she said, Miss Bev, the first 3 books are serious, sort of serious.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Night Song, Indigo, and Night Song, Vivid, and Indigo. She said, can you write a comedy? And I was like,
Oh, throw me a challenge.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I was still young and
sure.
Stupid. But that book is so good. We did it.
It is funny. It is so funny.
It is so funny. I
read that one on a plane.
Oh.
And everybody in like 4 rows were going,
what's she doing? when the guys, try and break into the bank with that tree. I mean, for me, that I laughed out loud every time I read that story. So
is that the one you had the most fun writing?
I don't know. I think I had fun writing that one. I think whatever book I'm working on at the time is the book that makes the most fun.
Yeah.
I know that the book that caused most tears was book 3 of the Blessing series. I wept in that book. Oh, I wept. I really did.
Which would be Something Old, Something New?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
What made it for you so weep worthy?
Well, it's each of the books at the beginning are devoted to one of the kids. And there are 5 at-risk kids that are brought to the town by Bernadine Brown, and they are adopted or fostered by foster parents or adoptee parents. And so this was Devin's story. And he's the little boy who his grandmother told him he was anointed and that he was going to be a preacher. But she passed away. She got ill and passed away. And she was his only living, he thought, relative. And so he was okay for the first couple of books, but book 3, he just wanted to go home. Just wanted to go home. And we found out that he did not get a chance, me and the readers,
right,
Pantser. Uh, Dad said he never got to say goodbye to his grandmother because he was a little kid and they wouldn't let him in the hospital to see her because he was, 6 or 7 at the time. So there's a part of the story where he gets to go home, and he's at his grandmother's grave, and it's just, oh, I think everybody who reads that story, people are like, Miss Bev, why don't you tell me I need 2 boxes of tissues?
Yes.
We all wept. So I'm not going to tell you the story. You have to read
Yes.
I don't do spoilers. I'm
Good.
shameless. Buy the book.
By the book, that's right.
But yeah, I really, in a lot of different places in that book, a lot of weeping going on.
So for our listeners who love series, there are 9 books in the Blessing series.
Well, there are now 10.
Now 10. What's the 10th one?
On the Corner of Hope and Maine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's book 10.
Write that one down. I love that title, by the way. That one's such an awesome title for that series.
Yeah. You can thank my editor for that. Sometimes I do the titles, sometimes she does the titles. So that's her title.
So you said you're a pantser.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of advice do you have for writers starting out or writers working in the field who are also pantsers? What are some things that you've found over the years that work for you as a pantser to help keeping you moving forward and writing to the end?
Well, I don't know if there is anything I can tell you other than your characters will make you crazy. Just write the story, as I tell everybody. Open yourself up to what the characters, where they're leading you. My characters have led me to places where I had to go get the atlas. It's like, really, this is where we're going? I didn't know that there were swamps in Texas. I didn't. I know a lot of geography.
I have to confess, I didn't know that either. I knew there were some in Georgia. I didn't know there were any in Texas. I didn't know there was that much moisture in Texas.
Well, they're on the coast. Well, they're on the border with Louisiana. So, okay, I'm writing a story, and my hero's gotten beat up by the bad guys. And I mean, he's in bad condition, and his family takes him into the swamps. And I'm typing, right? And I'm trying to keep up. And I'm like, wait, what? Swamps? Texas? So I had to go get the atlas. And sure enough, like I said, there are swamps. Everybody in Texas knows this. Everybody in Louisiana knows it. They're laughing at me right now.
Right.
And so we go to this swamp. And because I'm a pantser, there are 2 people in the swamp who were major characters in the story that I had no idea were going to be in the story.
Guess who just showed up?
Yes. And the character, his mom or his aunt, is beating on this old, dead tree. Like I said, I'm just trying to keep up. And out of the swamp comes this older lady who she made the story. So, I did an interview with Sarah Wendell for Smart Bitches.
Yeah, Smart Bitches Trashy Book. It's a great blog if anybody has not.
Yeah, they're awesome over there. I told her, I said, I always feel like my characters are in the corner of my office laughing at me.
Because of the things they bring you into and show you, like, hey, you didn't know this, so go get the atlas, girl.
Right. They know the story and I don't. Another example, the Blessings book, we had a major character do something really, really stupid. I mean, just some kind of character. And I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do, right? And he leaves town. I don't know where he is. It's 4 a.m. The book is due to my editor at 9 that morning.
Oops.
I still don't know where he is. So at 4 a.m, I'm standing in the bathroom in the dark, screaming at the mirror, where are you? And they said, here he is. And I'm like, you guys couldn't have told me this 2 weeks ago. So
that's a reasonable hour.
At a reasonable hour, so, but I just don't limit yourself if you're a pantser. You can always cut it later. But if it's something that, you think that is going to go good with the story, let it, it's like taking a ball of yarn and just throwing it across the room. As it unravels, I think that's how parents write.
Sometimes it goes under the table and under the chair. And
yeah, and sometimes it, gets caught on stuff and
makes a left turn.
yeah, makes a left turn, takes you in the swamps of Texas. So I have plotter girlfriends who are terrified of writing that way. But there is no one way to do this. Everybody has their own method, and whatever method works for you is the right way for you. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to do a certain thing. Well, you have to finish the book. But other than that, if you don't have to write every day. People have children. People get sick. People have overtime at their jobs. Write in a way that works for you. Even if it's only a sentence a day, people say you have to do this much a day. No, so that's my public service announcement for today.
Well, I think that's part of my always part of my soapbox speech when I'm teaching a class or talking to writers that are starting out, and it's your book, write it your way.
Right.
For exactly the same reasons you just stated, that there's stuff.
Life happens.
Life happens, and the book needs to happen in amongst that, or it'll never get done. Yeah, but that doesn't mean write every day. It means write when you've got 2 hours here, or an hour there, or 15 minutes here.
Yeah, I remember, editing, sitting in a car, because both my kids were band kids, and band practices at night under the lights, and I'm sitting in the car under the lights editing a concert until they turn the lights off.
I have written and edited at baseball practice.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you do what I understand that. You do what you need to do, but you got to finish that book. You got to finish.
Yeah. And then start the next one.
There you go. Don't wait for, don't quit your day job.
Right.
You're not usually going to make enough money to go buy you an Escalade or anything like that. So
don't I wish.
we wish. Yeah. But keep writing.
That's right. So one of the things that for me was a highlight of one of the first times I met you was at the 2017 RWA conference, where you received the Nora Roberts Lifetime Achievement Award. Yeah. That was I had seen you at the conference before, and we had been introduced before, but that was one of the first times, just before all the festivities started. We chatted for a few minutes, and it was such a thrill for me to be able to be there when you won it, because I just thought that was outstanding and well deserved, and actually a little bit overdue.
Well, yeah, we won't talk about that, but I agree with you. I agree. It was quite a moment for me.
But you've also won a lot of other awards. Is there any award that has meant more to you than another?
No.
Or do you just take them as they come?
I do. And my husband, when he was here, he's now in heaven playing golf. There for the last 18 years, playing golf in heaven. He wanted to put them up, on display and, put lights on them. And, right now they're downstairs in drawers in an old dresser, because, I'm just not, I try not to be impressed by myself as other people are, because once you start believing the hype, then stuff gets difficult. I'm just very, very grateful for the gift, because it is a gift. I'm grateful to be able to make the path wider for writers coming up behind me, especially women and guys of color. So for me, that means more, I guess the legacy that I put up,
right,
I guess means more to me than a statue. Or I do love my reader, though. I do love my reader. But I think being able to watch these young writers blossom. I mean, Alyssa Cole, I mean, I could stand up on the roof and just applaud her every damn day.
And that latest thriller kept me up all half the night.
She can write anything, anything.
Yeah, she can. And so many wonderful, wonderful writers out there that you've paved the way for, and who have, as you say, begun to blossom. And I think too, whether we like it or not, the shakeup in our industry has opened a lot of doors.
Yeah.
And about damn time.
Yeah.
Um,
and part of that, the shakeup, has to do with those indie writers who, were turned away, and they were like, we're not going away.
Yeah, and you don't have to let us play in your sandbox. We'll just go succeed on our own.
Yeah, and we'll build our own sandboxes.
That's right.
Now publishing is like, okay, can you come and play in our sandbox now?
Yeah. Oh, wait, y'all are making money, so maybe you should come over here. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Now, that said, there are also some wonderful authors who are making their way with traditional publishers, Quanah Jackson, Rashawn. I mean, making some wonderful, wonderful progress there too. But long overdue.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's been interesting watching the industry go from, because for a long time it was just me and, the ladies at Arabesque,
Right.
Jackson and Donna Hill and Shirley Hillstock and, Frances Ray. I was a bit worried about the status of Black romance going forward. Now, nope, I'm not. There's so many wonderful women out there and guys, because Wayne Jordan has been writing for Kimani, which no longer exists, but he's been writing for them for years.
And it's interesting to me that Harlequin opened and shut so many lines, and Kimani was one of their most successful lines on their books. It was, their ledger books. It was one of the most successful lines.
Yeah.
And they closed the line. They've done that with 2 or 3 of their most successful lines, and it makes no sense whatsoever.
I know. Yeah, I hurt a lot of feelings too. Caused a lot of cussing too.
Oh, I know.
So
and yet I think the industry should have taken a big old lesson from that and said, wait, if nothing else, they're making money.
Yeah.
Let's make some of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad to see that mainstream traditional publishing and the independent publishing market have broadened their scope. And I think readers have, because they can see it now in the news, in press, in Twitter and Facebook, they're like, well, I want to read that.
Yeah. But you still have a group of folks who say they can't relate. And my whole line is, you can relate to shapeshifters and you can relate to vampires and, all that. And you can't relate to people of color because of their color.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before. And that it makes, I have quoted you on that before because I'm like.
Yeah, I got issues with that. But, we're not going to wait for them. We're going to keep writing and moving forward. So, yeah.
That's right. Well, because that's the best revenge.
Oh, yeah.
Is to be successful, to keep writing, to keep having people gobble up your stories and love them and write you letters that say, you didn't tell me I needed 2 boxes of Kleenex.
I know. Yeah. It is joyous. Yeah.
Until 2 a.m. and I went through 2 boxes of Kleenex.
Yeah. Or the people who don't feed their children, I'm like, I need to feed your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
I gave my kids Cheerios, leave me alone. It's a Miss Bad book. Eat your Cheerios.
Right. I've been known to stir the pot like this.
Yeah.
My kids are like, Mom, it's catching on fire.
Right, Mom.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Guess I better put the book down for now.
Yeah, Mom, stop.
Yeah. So you said that the next Women Who Dare series is out this fall? Or is it next?
No, it'll be out. It's due this fall.
Right. So it'll be out in 2022.
2022. Yeah, it takes about 8 months to go from,
Right.
her desk to the stores or Amazon or whatever. So, and then I don't know. It's the last book on this contract.
So then maybe we can get some dragons.
Oh, maybe. We'll see. Probably do that independently though.
Yeah.
But that's
Isn't it wonderful that we have so many options?
It is. It is. And and I'm blessed to be with a publisher that allows me, encourages me to play in different sandboxes, because I've written young adult too,
Yeah.
so because
So which one is the young adult? I had that written down and now I can't find it in my notes.
Belle and Josephine. It started out as Belle and the Bow and Josephine and the Soldier. Avon did a series of young adult, I don't know, 15 years ago. And I don't remember how many authors were in that group. I know it was Lorraine Heath, Meg Cabot. There were a couple other people and myself.
Mm-hmm.
But we only did 2 books apiece. But mine are still in print. I'm sure the other ladies are still in print too. I mean, Meg Cabot's, all of her stuff is probably still in print.
Yeah. Well, Lorraine too. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was on a Zoom with her one day last week.
She's a delight.
She really is.
I served on the RWA board with her and just I think the world of her. She's great.
She's a sweetheart. So yeah, so Kimani republished it because I kept getting letters from the young women wanting to know if the characters got married. So I wound up adding a chapter with weddings for the new edition, and then they gave us the rights back once they,
the line ended. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want them anymore. So we did digital, and they're still available and still bringing in a little bit of money every month, which is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and young adult is such a wide open field.
Yeah.
And there's such a hunger for reading, which, as a librarian yourself, it makes my librarian soul go pitter pat that so many young people actually read.
Yeah, they do.
A lot more prefer the digital format than prefer books,
yeah.
But that's okay. They're still reading.
As long as they're reading. And there are very few, if any, historical romances for them, for the young women of color between the ages of 12 and 18.
Right.
So, I would love to see more in that.
Yeah.
I think I saw Farah reference Princess Tiana book, I think, that she's doing for Disney Hyperion. Nice. Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So, that's a market folks can tap into.
Yeah, and it's a big market.
It's a big market. Black women do read.
They read a lot.
They read a lot. The Pew study said, person most likely to read a book is a Black woman with 2 years of college. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, and I think we've got some hope for what's going on in our country. We've got a lot more opportunities for people, and they're because of digital and because of the platforms that we have. There isn't the barriers that there were when you and I started.
No.
You don't have to find an agent first. And now, of course, you do need to produce a good book and find a good editor and do all those things that you have to do to produce a good book.
Right.
But nobody can stop you if you're bound and determined to do it.
Yeah. There's no, so many stories of all kinds from people of all identities. Mm-hmm. And that is a big difference too. Yeah.
And isn't that wonderful?
It is fabulous. Everybody deserves a HEA, and everybody deserves a story, and who you love and, how you identify yourself should not keep you from stories. So That's very important, I think.
I think it is, and I think it is one of the we are in a place in history where we're allowing more of that, and I'm so thrilled.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so thrilled that you were willing to come talk with us today, and really appreciate you being here. Why don't you tell our listeners how they can best find you, obviously in the bookstore and online on various platforms, but how else can they find you?
You can find me on social media. I'm on Twitter way too much, at author Miss Bev. You can find me on Facebook. I have a brand page, and I have what's supposed to be the personal page, but it's full of fans and me. So just type in Facebook or type in my name, and the pages will show up. But and you can hook up with me at my website, which is beverlyjenkins.net, and sign up for my newsletter. It is free. I don't do it probably as often as I should, but you do get more than one a year, so I think that's an accomplishment. So and you can find all the books there. It's set up with a series page, and it's also set up with a by publication date page, and they are downloadable and printable, thanks to
Awesome.
my great webmaster and my great assistant, virtual assistant. So check me out.
That is excellent. And as always, you can find us here on ConTinual, the con that never ends.